Story 1. I've always been a night owl, and working late shifts meant walking home well past midnight. The route was familiar: 3 blocks down Main Street, a turn by the park, then straight to my apartment. I never thought much of it until one night I realized someone was following me. It started with footsteps behind me, steady and measured. At first, I assumed it was just another late-night worker heading the same way. But when I crossed the street unexpectedly, the footsteps followed. I quickened my pace, heart thudding, and the sound mirrored me. Glancing back, I saw him, a man in a dark hoodie, hands buried in his pockets. His face was shadowed, but I could feel his eyes locked on me. My stomach dropped. This wasn't coincidence. I pulled out my phone, pretending to make a call. "Yeah, I'll be home in 5, I said loudly, hoping he'd hear. The man didn't flinch. He kept the same distance, always about 20 steps behind. I turned down a busier street, hoping for safety, but it was nearly deserted at that hour. Only flickering streetlights and closed storefronts surrounded me. I ducked into a convenience store, my hands shaking. From the window, I watched him stop outside, leaning against the lamppost like he was waiting. My heart raced as I bought a bottle of water I didn't need, stalling. When I finally left, he was gone. Relief washed over me until halfway down the block, I heard the footsteps again. He'd circled around, waiting. I decided to take a longer route home, weaving through side streets. Each turn I made, he matched. I could almost hear his breathing now. I considered calling the police, but what would I say? A man is walking behind me. Then I noticed something chilling: he was getting closer. 20 steps became 15. 15 became 10. I broke into a jog, pulse hammering. He sped up too. My apartment building was still 2 blocks away, but I couldn't risk leading him there. At the last second, I darted into an alley and pressed against the wall, holding my breath. Seconds later, he jogged past the entrance, scanning the street. I stayed hidden until his footsteps faded, then sprinted the rest of the way home. For weeks after, I changed my routine, never taking the same route twice. But every so often, I'd see a man in a hoodie lingering across the street, watching, waiting for me to walk alone again. Story 2. It was a quiet Thursday night, and I had just left my friend's apartment after helping her study. The streets were empty, the kind of silence that makes every sound echo louder than usual. As I walked, I noticed headlights appear behind me. At first, I didn't think much of it. Cars passed through late at night all the time. But when I crossed the street, the car slowed down and crossed too, keeping its distance. My gut twisted. I tried to shake it off, telling myself maybe the driver lived nearby. Still, the engine hummed at the same slow pace as my steps, never passing, never turning. I cut through a side street to test my theory. The car followed. My chest tightened. The driver rolled down the window slightly. I couldn't see his face, just the faint glow of a cigarette tip burning in the dark. My instincts screamed to keep moving. I pulled out my phone, holding it to my ear like I was talking to someone. "Yeah, almost home," I said loudly, forcing my voice to sound casual. The car didn't speed away. It crept along, steady as ever. I decided to stop walking altogether, pretending to text under a street lamp. The car stopped too, engine idling a few yards away. A door clicked open. Panic surged through me, and I turned sharply, walking fast, refusing to look back. I ducked into another street, my heart pounding. The car sat abandoned at the corner with the door still open, but the man was gone. That somehow felt worse. Every instinct told me to run. I sprinted toward the nearest gas station I knew was open late. Halfway there, I heard footsteps slamming against the wet pavement. He was running now. My lungs burned as I bolted across the street, nearly tripping. I reached the gas station, bursting inside, drenched and trembling. "Someone's following me," I gasped to the cashier. The man didn't come in. Instead, he stood at the edge of the lot, watching. His face was hidden under a baseball cap, but I'll never forget the way he tilted his head, like memorizing me. The cashier threatened to call the cops, and only then did he slowly turn and vanish into the night. Even now, whenever headlights crawl behind me, my stomach knots with the memory of that night. Story 3. It was raining hard that night, and I had just missed the last bus. The shelter was empty, except for a tall man sitting on the far bench with his hood pulled low, clothes soaked through. I gave him a polite nod and sat at the opposite end, scrolling my phone. When I realized no more buses were coming, I stood to leave. The man stood too. My stomach tightened as I started walking, and soon I heard footsteps splashing steadily behind me. At first, I hoped it was coincidence, but every turn I made, he followed. I crossed the street, he crossed too. The neighborhood was usually safe, but under the storm, it felt deserted. I called my roommate, speaking loudly. "Yeah, almost home." Still, he trailed me. In a store window reflection, I saw his hood dripping with rain, his shadow towering behind me. I turned onto a brighter street, picking up my pace. His footsteps grew louder. I ducked into an alley, hoping to cut across to the main road, but the narrow walls amplified the sounds. My shoes slipped as I broke into a run. The alley ended at a fence, and my heart sank. I turned back, the space was empty. For a few seconds, I only heard rain until a low whisper slid from the shadows. "Why are you running?" My blood froze. I scrambled up the fence, hands tearing against the metal, and dropped hard on the other side. My knees buckled, but I forced myself forward. I didn't stop until I burst into a glowing 24-hour diner, gasping for air. Staff turned in shock as I tried to explain, shaking. Through the window, I scanned the street, praying he was gone. Then I saw him standing at the alley's entrance across the road, still and silent, watching me. The waitress threatened to call the police, and only then did he slowly step back into the shadows, disappearing completely. I stayed inside nearly an hour before daring to leave. He never came back, but ever since that night, rain makes me nervous. Every time water splashes under my feet, I can almost hear his footsteps behind me, steady and unrelenting.